Hi, my colleagues. Welcome back to Career and Corporate Hub. Ngadzina Ndifikodani Tlatrayo. I think for the next few weeks, I'll be taking more videos answering a lot of questions from TikTok. And today I thought we should talk about tell us about yourself, which is like a more common interview question. When you start your interviews, usually they would ask you this question, and from the people that I've engaged with or my clients when we're doing role play for practicing for interviews or preparing for an interview, they would usually take me through their career journey. And this question, tell us about yourself. Remember, when you are taking the interviewers through your career journey, the interviewers have got your CV and you focus more on probably like your degree, and then the experience that you've acquired, probably like when you started working, and then you talk about the skills. That is good. You should mention something like that, but it should be very short and sweet, because sometimes the interviewers could be asking you this question in the next question or third, and then you missed the core, or rather primary information that you could make your interviewer connect with you. So interview, like this type of question can make or break your interview, because when you start, the room is cold, and you need to warm up the room. So how do you warm up the room if then you're only talking about your skills, your like your degree? I've got, like, interviewers usually have your CVs in front of them, and they obviously also want to see the way you would answer that question is the same as the information that you've put in the CV as well. However, the most crucial way to answer this question is to take them through also your background, because what is it that is special about you? What is it that is different from other candidates? Remember, when you enter that interview, there are also other candidates who've got the same degree, who've got the same skills. So now you want to take them through something that is different from the other candidates. So that's why you shouldn't dwell too much about the skills, about the like your experience, and also your degree or the qualifications that you've done. And you may find that somebody who's done a lot of certificates, they talk more about those certificates as well. Like, I studied a degree in human resources, and then I've also done a certificate for Excel. I've done a certificate for Word, and then you start talking more about certificates, but you don't necessarily talk about yourself. So it's quite important that you take the interviewer through your background. Who is this person that they're interviewing? And one thing that I always advise my clients is look for something that would spark a discussion, because you want that interview to be, to flow. You don't want them to say, tell us about yourself, and then you keep quiet, or rather you talk. You talk about your qualifications, and then you finish. Then there's that, like, pause. They're not sure even whether you are done or not. But now, if you talk about your background, your also something like hobbies as well, it's something that you can mention. And one thing that I like to mention about when we talk about hobbies, I talk about I love reading. I'm on book, for an example, I'm on book 28, and my target is to read 30 books this year. So someone in the room could be interested in reading, and then it sparks a discussion about reading. And depending on what the role is as well, I like to talk about values that are embedded in me, something that I, the values that are from my childhood. And those values should also be aligned with what the position entails, the skills that they're looking from, like from the candidate. So it's quite important that you really read the job description, that the information that you would talk about when you talk about yourself, you also include some of the attributes that are required in a person for that job, and that would make you stand out, so you need to look at something that would make you really stand out of other interviewees. So that's why it's quite important that you look for that element that would spark a discussion. And something else that I also like to talk about, if it's a role of maybe I'll be leading a project, I like to talk about growing up with six siblings, or rather five siblings, and for somebody who comes from a small family might find it fascinating that, whoa, you grew up with, like, you guys were six in one household. How is it like, and I'm saying this from my past experience where somebody asked those questions. And I would say that growing up with five siblings taught me to deal with different characters, understanding that everyone have got their own personalities, and you shouldn't then treat, I can't go to this person with, like, and treat them the same way I treat the other person. So it taught me to really deal with different characters. That's like some of the examples that you could use, but not necessarily just the way I said it. It's just an example. So those are some of the things that you should really bring up into the interview, and not necessarily focus more on just your degree, your experience, and remember your values, your personal values that that were taught from your childhood. It's something that is embedded in you, and if you bring that up, like talking as you are going through your interview, and from different questions that you answer, then you bring that element of your values. And also, always great that your values are also aligned with the company values. So that's why it's quite important also that you look into, the company values, you research about the company, and also you research, or rather, you just look at the job description from the job advert. Like usually they would write the skills, the experience that is required. Not even usually, it's always there, and from that you can pick like the type of values that they need from the candidate that is interviewing. So some of the things that can really make you stand out is really, yeah, talking about something like that. And I'm sure a lot of companies have got like a lot of values that I'm sure from one of them you could have a value that is aligned with the company's values. So just look at how you practice this question, and make sure that your answers are not long-winded. So that means that you must I try to answer like 30 seconds or 10 seconds even, like to have something that is more that could spark a discussion, when I'm talking about myself. For an example, I'm Kodani Sajwayo. I grew up in a small village called Chitereke in Limpopo. That's where I matriculated. I then moved to Cape Town to study mechanical engineering. And after studying my mechanical engineering, after completing mechanical engineering degree, I moved to East London, where that's where I started working, or rather, that's where I had my, I started my, like, yes, I started working. But I didn't start working in East London. So I'm just making it as an example. Through you taking them through this journey, like, look at it as um, growing up in a small village, studying in Cape Town, and then now East London. So it's like, how did you manage to adapt to live in different places, And remember, when moving to Cape Town, I was still young and I didn't know anyone. So now it's like we're talking about adaptability. So if that could make someone ask questions like, how did you cope with moving to different places? Like, how was it like? I mean, growing up in a small village and now you're moving into the city or to the city, it's like a completely big shift. So that's why you need to bring in some element that, like when you talk about yourself, then people can feel like, okay, I think this one can cope with the job. I mean, she was able to adapt to moving from a village going into a city. So those are some of the things that you can bring as your example. I hope this question helps to prepare when you prepare for your interview. And I'm quite excited that, the guys that I've supported with interviews, I think the last few weeks have moved on to the next stage, and it's quite exciting when you hear your interview. I mean, the your client saying that, "Oh, I made it into the next stage." So that means that the preparations then went well, and this starts with just you warming up the room, and you should just look at how everyone is engaging. The interviewers are engaging in the interview, and please don't do this as well. Don't like have your hands all over, rather have them just under the table, so that when you are talking, then you're able to make eye contact, and your hands are not so destructive. But anyway, today we're not talking about the hands. I just thought I should bring it up because it's something that I'm doing, and I do more often. And when I'm doing it, I tell my clients that please don't do the hands, and then like just realize that I'm actually doing the hands as well. That's why being self-aware is very important, because then you are able to notice those little things that you're doing, in the interview, and then you could easily rectify immediately. And then there was a special question that came from TikTok after I posted a video about how to introduce yourself, which was about why do you think you are a, a better candidate than the other candidates, and this question is usually asked in like almost all interviews that I've went to. Actually, all interviews that I went to, I was asked, why do you think you are, like we should hire you instead of the other candidates? So this question, I think, is actually one of the most simplest questions, because the job description has given you information on what they're looking for. The skills are there. Usually, when you're going for an interview, then the information that you should give as to why they should hire you. You could also bring in what you've spoken about in the introduction. For an example, I spoke about having a lot of siblings. If it's a leadership role, then I would mention something like, as I mentioned in the beginning, growing up in like a family with five siblings, I learned to adapt very quickly. I learned to deal with different characters, and looking at this role that requires me to lead a project, I believe that I'll also be, facing different challenges, dealing with different characters. And therefore, I believe that I would be suitable for the role because of, me being able to adapt um, easily or quickly. And then also, you should look into, guys, like this is just me just thinking of something that just on top of the head, so not necessarily that it should be something like this, but then you should also mention something that is aligned with the company's values. For an example, if one of the values respect, which I think most companies have that as their value, then I'm respectful of, you talk about respect, and if then I'm talking about growing up with a lot of siblings, then could talk about, it taught me to respect people spaces as well. I'm just like thinking, okay, space and project. But yeah, so just really think of what is on the job advert, what are the company values, what is the information that is on the job advert that is required for the candidate to have, then that should be your answer to answer why they should hire you. If they are looking for somebody with like great communication skills, then you could talk about having good communication skills. Therefore, you believe that with your effective communication skill, you will be able to communicate effectively on the project scope, project milestones, project or yeah, actually, when we're talking about a project, then if that's the role that you're going to do, then you can talk about that, with the foundation that you have, or having had led like a lot of projects previously, you believe that you are going to bring the skills that you have in executing a project, leading a project, and executing it successfully. I feel like now I'm like all over. But that's basically how you can answer this question. So I hope this video is really going to be helpful, more especially also with just a follow up question on why should we hire you, yeah, so I think interviews are not so tricky. A lot of people struggle with the nerves, or rather nerves. I mean, nerves are normal. So I always advise my clients that when you go into an interview, just think of, the people that are interviewing you are also nervous. And sometimes they're nervous because they don't want to mess up how they ask the questions. And, you just being yourself. It's the best thing you could do. And also, when you are nervous, breathe in, breathe out. I've really practiced to breathe in, breathe out, without anyone seeing. I'm gonna do it now. So it's not like in the interview, if I get there and the nerves are like all over, I'm able to practice that breathe in, breathe out, just to calm my nerves. So that's very important that you could do to calm your nerves. And I think another point that can really work, honestly, practice, practice. A lot of people that are also mentor, I always advise them that please practice your introduction. Who are you? What is it that you want people to know about you that could spark a discussion? Be it when you go networking, be it when you go, like anywhere that you go where you're going to have to introduce yourself, then you've got that introduction that you've been practicing. Then it will be easier for you to introduce yourself and also to network. So please always practice an introduction that could leave a good impression. So guys, what do you think about introduction? How is it for you? Is it tricky? I know a lot of, for me, this is the most trickiest question in an interview, because it's just like, guys, why are you asking me to introduce myself? Why are you asking about myself? Because you've got my CV. Why don't you just go through my CV and then let's talk about what I'm going to bring to the team? And remember, a lot of people are not hired for the experience that they have. They are hired for good attitude. So, and just the way you answer your interview questions, which is going to be the next video, make sure that you've got examples. It's always about theory and practical. So we're going to talk about this in the next video so that you can prepare yourself better for an interview. So guys, if you're going for an interview, all the best. If you need support with some of the interview questions and you don't know how to answer them, please comment down below and then we can discuss it. If you've got any maybe information that you could add to help some candidates or candidates that are going for an interview, please do give tips in this video. So thank you so much. Enjoy. Bye bye. Be kind and gentle. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and also share this video, because I'm sure it is going to help somebody else. So bye bye.